welcome back to my channel. My name is Shaden. As you can tell, I am looking under the weather because I just sold my 1.5 kidneys as well as all my savings and all my retirement funds to purchase a Leica Q3. And I don't know, maybe in a few years when I'm 102 years old and I can't bathe myself or feed myself or change my own diapers, I might look back and think maybe I shouldn't have liquidated all my assets in order to purchase a Leica Q3. Nah, at least I'll have this around my neck looking trendy and cool. I can tell you this, at first I loathed the Leica, then it turned into disliking the Leica, then it turned into kinda liking the Leica, and then it turned into liking the Leica, and then eventually around day 4, it turned into loving the Leica. And after 4 weeks with this Leica, I can tell you with full certainty that it was worth selling my 1.5 kidneys, even though I may only have a few months left to live. So the very first couple days of the photos that you will see taken on this camera is straight out of the camera, no manipulation to it. That's because A, I want it to be authentic, and B, I just don't want to edit these photos. But as you will see, I did start shooting raw or ding, whatever they decides to call their raw files. And obviously those images I had to touch. Kind of a weird. And those images I obviously had to edit in Lightroom. So let's start a week before the Leica arrived, when I made a wonderful, bad, good, terrible, atrocious, amazing, irresponsible, completely responsible decision to purchase a Leica Q3. For months, I have added this camera to my cart, let it sit there for days or weeks, and then take it out. And then a few days later, I put it back in my cart and then take it out. And that's been on repeat for months. It is back in my cart. The Leica Q3 is back in my cart. And this time I am that close to pulling the trigger. All right, it is almost 10 o'clock and I just got out of bed because I'm gonna buy the camera. I'm just gonna buy it already. All right, watch me buy a $6.7 thousand camera. Ready? Oh my God, we did it. Okay, we'll see what happens. So it has arrived, the package that I have been dreading to receive because of the crazy amount that this costs. All right, here we go. Oh my word. Here she is. I don't know, I kind of expected like fireworks to go off or something. But here we are, we have it. So the first few days you will see images that are taken straight from this camera. And you can tell that the colors are going to be all different because I was going through all the different types of Leica looks. I'm not going to necessarily talk about those looks in this video. I may make another video talking about each look, but I'm just going to have the name of that look on the bottom for now. Okay, side note, absolutely not. I am no longer putting the Leica look on the bottom of the photo. It is taking way too long, and it's just such a nightmare going back and look at the metadata. So, yeah, I'm not doing that anymore. I will for the first few photos, I guess. So the first day with this camera, I went to go see my horse. So later that evening I went to church, and normally I take images at this church with my Canon R5 with 70 to 200 millimeter lens. But this time I took along my Leica Q3 to see how it would do in that environment. Overall, these images are okay. But I was pretty impressed with the low light capabilities that this camera had. After service, I usually go to this restaurant called Rob's, and there I made some images with different Leica looks. After I shoved my face like a fat cow at that restaurant, we decided to go to this very bougie and high-end dessert parlor. And obviously, since it's a very bougie area, my friend decided to have her own photo shoot.
I'm a hot girl, I'm a hot girl. I get anything I want, this is my world. I make big moves.
So after the first day, I looked at my images and I realized that I, in fact, wasted a lot of money on this camera. I absolutely hated it. I actually even looked at returning the camera. I looked up the return policy, but there is obviously fees I have to pay, which would make me lose, like, I think like several $100s. The first night that I used this camera, I was in insomnia and anxiety all night, wondering what am I going to do? Because now I'm stuck with this extremely expensive camera that I want to resell or get my refund. And on Thursday mornings, I make content for a photographer named Meg, who is also a life coach. And this is when I first realized I could incorporate this camera into my professional workspace. So I showed Meg the camera and she took a photo of me, but I forgot to put the autofocus back on. So thankfully it was out of focus and the camera was set to manual focus on accident. Otherwise you would see a disgusting face full of redness and bags under my eyes from crying all night because I made the worst decision of my life, which was to spend all my money on this Leica Q3. But at least this camera captured the disgusting looking socks that I wore that day while I was digging my nose. Afterwards, I had to pick up my friend at the airport, and obviously the airport is probably the best place to take photos because there's nothing sketchy about that. And I thought this was a great opportunity to take photos of these stupid socks once again. And after that, I had to head over to my friend's birthday. You remember that one friend that had her photo shoot in that bougie restaurant?
Hot girl, I'm a hot girl.
Yeah, her birthday. Who is basically the main character every day, who actually pretends like it's her birthday every day. I have to constantly remind her that birthdays aren't that important because everyone actually has them, unless you're dead.
Time is up, turn it up.
And here I decided to get a little fartsy, and throw on one of these flash units to see what it would look like if I started using my flash with the Leica. And no, an atomic bomb did not go off. That is just me not knowing how to use a flash and cranking it up to the highest power possible. But after I kind of messed with the settings, it kind of came out pretty cool. So I couldn't stay long at my friend's birthday party because I had a meeting that night for work. And so I thought, you know what, I'm not gonna bring a gift. I'm just gonna pop in and say hi and leave. But unfortunately for me, which is a constant theme in my life, everyone started to show up with gifts, meaning I was the only one without a gift. Just a side note, if you invite me to your party, I'm gonna go and eat the food and bring no gifts. And that goes for weddings and funerals as well. And all the events that have free food at the end, my favorite is probably funerals because there's no small talk or dancing or anything fun involved. So after day 2, I kind of started to like this camera, and I don't know if I started liking this camera or I started to like convince myself that I like this camera to feel better or to be able to sleep that night. Alright, so day 3 comes along and I hope you're ready for more amateur photos because I am so excited to show you. So I had a shoot in that morning and I'm not going to show you the images of the clients that I shot because I don't want to get sued, but I was able to snap a few photos here. And then actually I had another job that day. So later on you'll also see some photos in the afternoon of this same beach. It's so fun, like driving all the way to one location, doing work, driving back home, and then going back to that same location later for another job. That's like so much fun to me. So later on I went to go visit my cousin who was getting ready for an art show for her client. I'm gonna come back in a few hours to take some photos when the art show is actually happening. Then we went back to the same beach in the morning to do another job, and here are some photos again of that same beach, but in the afternoon now. So after that job, we went all the way back to the mall where the art show was happening. So after the art show, I was heading back to the parking lot and I realized there was a new storefront, which was in fact my cousin's new store. So we slipped in and I took some photos. So after day 3, I no longer hated the Leica and I no longer regretted the decision. I was starting to learn how to like the Leica, if that makes sense. Instead of shooting Leica looks, I started to shoot raw, or whatever Leica calls their raw files. So the morning of day 4, there was a rodeo happening. And I did not want to bring this camera along with me unless there was a filter or a UV filter because of all the dust in the arena. Lucky for me, I owned a Ricoh GR3, which is the same filter size as the Q3. So I have a UV filter and a diffusion filter. And I had this amazing idea, like, hey, I just bought Leica Q3 with one of the sharpest lenses on earth. You know what's a good idea? I'm gonna throw on a diffusion filter to dampen that sharpness. Sounds stupid, but I don't know. I love how it looks. And if you don't like it, I don't care. This image right here was made me realize I love the Leica. Yes, the 28 is wide, which I love, but it can also crop in super tight and it looks just as good on the screen. And obviously it's getting cropped in, so it's no longer 60 megapixels, but still this image looks fantastic. So after 4 days of shooting with this camera and having insomnia and panic attacks, wondering if I did the right decision or not, I was able to sleep good that night, knowing that I made the right decision of purchasing the Leica Q3. On day 5, it was the Super Bowl. But first, coffee. And now I want to talk about the sponsor of this episode. It is not Polina Coffee, but I'm going to act as if it is Polina Coffee because they have the best coffee in Hanapepe. If you are in Hanapepe or anywhere near Hanapepe visiting the Swinging Bridge, stop by Polina Coffee. Owned by two brothers who never argue and just make the best coffee in the world. They make fabulous coffee and they have pastries and stuff. So after coffee, I headed to my favorite side of the island, which is the west side of Kauai, where my friend was throwing a Super Bowl party. So the rodeo scene is pretty big on Kauai, especially on the west side. So some of the kids were practicing and I snapped a few shots here. And then some of the kids in the neighborhood were riding dirt bike. So I don't want to get flagged here on YouTube for like dangerous practices or whatever. So for educational purposes, don't ride dirt bike on the road. In fact, I was like, hey, stop this. Like, oh no, the dirt bike on the highway, no, so bad, stop it, please you guys, oh my God, stop. But since I was there with my camera, obviously I had to take some photos.
You can't manage this, can't break this bond funded. Gotta keep my distance when you not 100. From the same will say they love you, lady funny.
And after I made some photos of the kids riding dirt bike, I went up the mountain a little bit and took some photos of my friend who just bought a new truck.
I don't really wanna come ask me why I gotta act like this. Tell them that my pockets too swollen, they already know I'm a flex with a bag like this.
So to wrap up day 5, I started to love the Leica. And one of the main reasons is I think I stopped dwelling on buyer's remorse. I stopped trying to look for reasons why I made a bad decisions. And I started to use the Leica as a tool to make images that I was proud of. And because I started to shift my mindset of the Leica, I started to really love the Leica at day 6. But the bummer thing is, this week a huge storm was running through Kauai. So a lot of my shoots got canceled and rescheduled, but it's also a good thing to get rained out because it gives me time to hang out with friends. So that morning I met with my good friend Lex and we had chicken and waffles, or well, I did at least. And look how cute these chickens are who decided to join us for breakfast. Little do they know that their uncle has been fried up and is served on my plate at the moment. After breakfast, we walked around and I was obviously window shopping because I can't afford anything, but Lex went ahead and bought a few things. So after walking around, pretending like I was gonna go shopping, I headed over to my favorite coffee shop, Helena Coffee, to do some work and to get some photos of the historic Kanapepe town. After that, I met up with my good friend Juice and we had some lunch together. And I lost a bet during the Super Bowl. I think I was going for the Patriots and she was going for the other team. I don't even know which one. I forget what team she was for. I don't know. The only reason why I watched the Super Bowl was for Bad Bunny. But anyways, yeah, I lost, she won, so I had to buy her lunch. So now I am like totally in the red because buying this camera and now having to buy her lunch, I'm like gonna be broke for the next 20 years. So after day 6, I have already fallen in love with the Leica. So here we go, day 7, the last day. And to quote the most overused cliche term of all time, I was obsessed with the Leica. It was storming all day again, which gave me time to catch up on my editing and galleries. And that's really no excuse not to go out and make images because there are some pretty cool images that you can make on moody, dark, stormy days, but I just stayed in the house all day editing. But later that evening, I hit up some friends who are part of a boxing club, and I wanted to see how this camera worked with external strobes. So to wrap this up, I bought this camera because I wanted a camera that I could take with me everywhere, and no matter what was going on from my mundane, normal life, I wanted a camera to take along with me to capture those moments. And at the end of this 1 week, I can say I absolutely love the Leica Q3. I hated it at first, absolutely loathed it, had bad anxiety and buyer's remorse in the beginning, but throughout the week, I absolutely adored this camera. People say it's not about the gear. I have to completely disagree. It is all about the gear. Yes, this takes fantastic quality images, but there's something about holding the Leica and using the Leica, making images with the Leica that makes all the difference. Yes, it's all about the gear because having this in my hand, I want to make images with everything I see. Not only does it feel good in the hand and it just feels right, it produces stunning images. It is so fun. It feels so good in the hand. And you might say, well, is it worth the price tag? Because there's other cameras that are way cheaper. And you're right about that. I've shot Nikon, Canon, Sony, Fuji, Pentax, digital, film, even Super 8. But there is nothing in comparison to using the Leica Q3. I might be over-exaggerating here because this camera still is pretty new to me and I absolutely love it. But I do believe there is nothing like using a Leica. Leica just feels different. I don't know, it's the sensation of it. It's, I guess, the hype of the Leica. Some people say it's overhyped, and maybe you are right. And yes, other cameras can get the Leica look with the help of Lightroom and presets and editing, but I would say it's the experience. Is that experience worth 3 times more than other cameras that could probably do the same thing? In my case, yes, absolutely. And you might say, well, you're just paying to look bougie. I'll take it. I will take it. I just can't wait to make more images with this camera and make more videos with this camera. My only gripe with this camera is that the autofocus is not as quick as the R5. But at the end of the day, this is not an action camera, I don't think. But I do have to say, for the size of this camera, it does an extremely good job with autofocus regardless. If there's anything you want to see or anything you want me to test with this camera, please let me know in the comments below. Otherwise, I'll see you in the next episode.